bleed green? Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place.
Ready? Right.
This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go.
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go. Let's go. Go.
And it is an undefeated Tuesday here on Birds 365. Even though Jalen Hurts might not want to hear that. He doesn't like the sound of 5-0. We'll discuss that and many things today. You got your Mac and Mac boys back today. Jody McDonald along with my partner, John McMullen, who came in. They had already flipped the coin. The Eagles had decided to defer, but as they were coming out onto the field for the opening kickoff, McMullen came running in through the tunnel to make it in time for today's show. Good hustle out of you, J-Mac.
Well, you got to give credit to the Uber driver in rush hour traffic. So fresh off the red eye. So I'm not very fresh, Jody. So you're going to have to carry me today
So hold on. Timeout, Philadelphia. When you took off for Arizona, you Ubered into the airport?
I Ubered into the airport, yeah.
And you Ubered back out today? You don't trust long-term parking at Philadelphia?
Well, they shut down the long-term parking during the pandemic, and they never reopened it.
Never reopened the long-term parking? I'll tell you, last time I was on a plane pre-pandemic.
Yeah. No, as a matter of fact, well, we could do a 2-hour show on that. That pisses me off to no end. I love that long-term parking lot. And now it doesn't exist anymore. And they use an excuse that if you park near the airport, they just gouge you to no end. They had this big lot where you could take shuttles in. Oh, yeah. It was really nice. You just walk out. They're constantly running. And it was easy and it was convenient. So, of course, they stopped it.
Yikes. I did not know that.
Yeah. But, when the pandemic was the excuse, they didn't have enough traffic, which was understandable because nobody was traveling. But then when everything reopened, they just didn't reopen it. So
yeah, I didn't know that.
So now it's just easier to take Ubers in and out. My wife's always got something to do. I don't blame her, by the way. That's the worst thing in the world, the airport pickup.
J-Mac, it's a whole lot easier than it was before friggin' cell phones. The only thing is you can't and again, I've been doing much traveling over however many years since the pandemic hit. But people just pull over on the side of the road and wait with their cell phone until someone texts them and says, yes, my plane is down. Come get me.
Yeah.
It's a mess, but it's actually not as difficult as it once was when you really did have to go into a short-term lot and pay through the nose just to wait for the person you're picking up to show up.
I'm going to date myself, but in the Keith Hernandez episode of Seinfeld, they do a great Jerry meets Keith Hernandez, the great former first baseman, and they become fast friends. And Keith Hernandez skips steps, and Jerry asked Jerry to help him move, which is going all the way in a male friendship.
That's true.
And they were insulting Jerry. What are you going to do? Pick him up at the airport next? Because that's a disaster for anyone.
It can be a little difficult. So Johnny Mac got the Uber back in. I texted him at about 7:45. I said, You gonna make it for 8 o'clock? Because you told me when we last texted you were hoping to be back in time for the show, and you said maybe a couple of minutes late. All right, well, okay, Tone will hop in. We'll carry him. And
Yeah,
sure
because
enough,
then, yeah, and then I have to, when I'm here, the dog hasn't seen me. So the dog's got to be excited and I got to get her out. So it was hit and miss, but I made it under the wire,
you
under the
did.
wire.
And we appreciate, much like the Philadelphia Eagles, you hustle, you're gritty, you're tough. You got the job done the same way the Birds did in Arizona this week, because you were commuting or were planning on commuting yesterday, and that got pushed back. And that's why you're just walking in the door here today. We haven't talked to you since the Cardinals-Eagles game ended with a missed Matt Amendola pick. I guess all that time he spent in the gym, pumping up, getting ripped. He should have been out there ripping field goals rather than worried about how he looks in a T-shirt.
Yeah, you could argue, the Eagles talk about winning outside the margins. What won them that game on Sunday was personnel department, picking a guy who hasn't kicked before, Cameron Dicker. Now, it was an easy kick. I'm not going to go overboard. I think even Amendola could have made a 23-yarder, but who knows? But most teams default to guys like Amendola, who's disappointed 3 cities in 2 years. You know that, Jody. He's been awful, and people keep giving him chances. I guess he does well in practice. I don't know, but that thing was, as soon as he hit it, it was like, no way. That basically was wide right to New Mexico. That's how far wide right that was. Now, there was some talk that Milton Williams might have gotten a finger on it. I don't know.
I've seen still photos that make it look like he did.
I don't think he did.
I don't either. And here's the reason why, John. And you were there, so you had a different look than we had on television. That ball was going so fast to the right as as it came off his foot. You knew immediately, this thing's not going straight.
Yeah,
and there was no movement in the ball. The only movement was it going right. It didn't slow down. It didn't immediately change directions. Oh, no, it went tried and true to the right. There was never a chance it was going through the uprights. So it looked like Milt Williams got his hand on it. But by judging the flight of the ball, I don't think he did. I just think it was a horrendously bad kick.
And that's exactly what Nick Sirianni said yesterday at his press conference this day after. He did not even at the time hear that Milton got a pick. He said he didn't think he did, but I'll ask Milton. And by the way, Milton, say you did. But
if nobody
anyway,
knows for sure, take credit for it. Is that what you're saying, McMullen?
Yeah, exactly. He was very close either way, but I don't think he got a piece of it. It was just an awful kick by an awful kicker. So I think that was one part of it. The personnel department taking a chance on a young kid that they scouted, and they said, well, he's pretty good. Let's give him a chance instead of the retread who keeps failing and failing and failing and failed again. Shocker. And then, little things, Jody, like the stadium, the operators, Arizona thought they had a first down when Kyler Murray slid, and they didn't, and they clocked the ball. Now, I don't know. There would have been 22 seconds left or somewhere in that range. They could have ran another play. Every piece of yardage is important when you have a kicker like Amendola. If you get a 5-yard gain, who knows? Make it an easier kick. Maybe it goes to overtime. Little things like that. You're in your home stadium, and I put that in quotations because the Eagles fans took over that stinking place. I mean, my Uber driver knew me, Jody. A member of the Arizona Cardinals, a game day PR staff, who shall remain nameless because I don't want to expose him, introduced himself to me, said he was a fan of our show, so thank you. And he pulled up his pants, and he was wearing Eagles socks. He was an Eagles fan. I think there are more Eagles fans in Phoenix than there are in Philadelphia, or it's very close. They completely took over the town. It was a home game essentially. You probably saw that video that Nick Sirianni mentioned yesterday when the field goal did miss. It was like, a roar of the home team winning late in the game.
So
Little
let me,
things.
and you're telling a great story, but I want to just get on the record here. We saw a bunch of plane loads of people go out there. The local media does a nice job of tracking stuff like this. I don't think it was John Clark, though, and he spends quality time in the airport. But usually it's for someone coming into town rather than someone leaving town.
There's no such thing as quality time at the airport.
No, I'm talking about the fact that you're saying you think there are a lot of Eagle fans that just live in Phoenix, that have moved out to Phoenix, that have been Eagle fans and didn't have to get on a plane to the game. No, they're residents, but they made sure they got their tickets and wore green to the stadium on Sunday.
Yeah, well, there were a ton of traveling fans as well. I mean, that's a good vacation spot. So it's a 2-for-1, I think, for a lot of fans. So don't get me wrong, there were a ton of traveling fans, but there are a ton of local fans as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of both, and kind of meshes together. But yeah, my flight last night, remember, that's a day late. It was packed with Eagles fans, packed. So they took an extra day, made a little bit of a vacation out of it. Obviously, Phoenix, Glendale area is beautiful when you get out of the airport. Oof, by the way, city of Phoenix. Oof. That's all I'll say about that. They get Philadelphia run for their money in airport problems. But other than that, yeah, I mean, they took over the town.
That's great to hear. And the way the game ended was great from an Eagle perspective. Yes, it hung in the balance. Yes, Kyler Murray had to misjudge a first down marker. Don't know how much the in-stadium operator.
Oh, they got to fire that. I don't want to say that. I don't want to get anybody fired, but that is a bad mistake. They flashed on the scoreboard, first and 10. Everybody on the Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury talked about it afterwards. Zach Ertz talked about it. Everybody thought it was a first down. All of a sudden, they're clocking the ball and it's fourth down. Then they have to kick. There's no.
But let me. I keep interrupting you here, John, and I apologize for that. I say shame on the Cardinal players. Shame on Kyler Murray. Shame on the coaching staff. Your job there is to watch the officials. You're supposed to watch the officials to see if they wave the chain holders forward. Until they do that, it's not a first down. Whatever the hell it says on the scoreboard is nice, but it's kind of irrelevant, and they can get it wrong. When the officials wave the chain gang to move up and reset for another first down, then you know you have a first down. If you know you're sliding close and it's a maybe, you have to look to the referee. You can't look at the stadium scoreboard.
Yeah, and Nick kind of got a little dig in after the game and said, I was watching the chains. I knew it wasn't a first down.
Exactly right. Nick's 100% right. That's the way you're supposed to do it.
And Cliff Kingsbury and the coaching staff, I'm going to blame the coaching staff more than the players. Look, you're right with the player, but in the players, I mean, you see it. You see guys now in the modern game, especially in these new stadiums, somebody breaks off for a long touchdown. You'll see them look up at the scoreboard to see if anybody's chasing them. They're used to doing these things now. They have these big things. And, so I'm not going to kill the players. I am going to kill the coaching staff. I'm not a big fan of Cliff Kingsbury anyway, so it's kind of easy. But, yeah, I mean, you have to be more aware. And if Cliff can't do it from the sideline, somebody up in the box has got to tell him really quickly. Yeah, they messed it up. And that potentially cost them overtime. And who knows what happens in overtime. So
here's where I'll kill a player, though, John. And it's the player that we're talking about. You got to get the first down. He goes into the slide way too quickly. Kyler Murray's got to make sure he can't leave it to an official's judgment or the chance that you may or may not get 9.5 yards isn't good enough when you need 10. Sorry, Kyler, you got to make that play. and he's sliding to protect himself. The game is on the line. If there's any juncture of the game where you're going to go a little bit extra and you're going to give up the body a little bit, you got to do it there. Either you have to wait till you're 2 yards past it to slide, or you got to drop your shoulder and just go down to the ground and give yourself up. That's on the player, not on the coach.
I agree. You know, I was watching the early games at State Farm Stadium, because it was a 125 start there, but 425 here. So all the early games were going on, and I forget the game, but there was a game where quarterback needed the first down. He dipped his shoulder. He got it. He went head first. He didn't slide. I think if you're going to criticize Kyler Murray, I think that's the bigger criticism than 3rd and 1 versus 4th and 1. And when they put it up on the scoreboard, a lot of quarterbacks are just ingrained to look at that now. So I'm not going to kill him for that, but I think it's a good criticism that, you got to go head first there. You got to get the first down.
He did not. We will get our first down. Our first guest up to join us next. My buddy, my pal, my partner from WIP and the host of the Eagles pregame show on the Eagles Radio Network with its station right here in town being WIP. Glenn Macnow will join us. First guest, Chris Frank a little bit later. Johnny Mack back from Arizona. All is well with Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown's 5-day used car super sale. Jeff puts an end to high prices now. 5 days of the best car, truck, and SUV deals ever. Over 1,000 vehicles, every make and model. Stop overpaying. See Jeff today and get a quality car, truck, or SUV now. The 5-day used car super sale. Experience how easy it is to deal at Jeff's. Nobody treats you better. Nobody gives you more. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown. GoJeffAuto.com.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an Audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Over the last 17 years, we've built a reputation of growing award-winning teams across the country. Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. Hi, I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Undefeated Tuesday morning here on Birds 365. It'll stay that way until the Eagles lose a game. which did not happen Sunday in Arizona, and here to help break down what went down Sunday and look ahead to the Cowboys. He and I have talked Eagles-Cowboys for a pretty long period of time here in town. The host of the Eagles pregame show, their flagship station, WIP, and across their entire broadcast outlet. And of course, host on weekends on WIP with poor schmucks like me. He does some heavy lifting. I got to give him credit for it. Glenn Mack now here with us on 94 WIP. G-Mac, the cast of thousands you have on the pregame show, I know a little less for road games than home games. Yeah. Was I the only putz this week that you worked with that picked the Arizona Cardinals to pull the upset?
You were. There were some, like myself, who picked a close game and said the Eagles wouldn't cover. I'll take that win. But more, Jody and John picked the Eagles to win it rather easily. You were the only one who went to your extreme. So, well, there you go.
Yeah, I picked the Eagles to win 5 times, Glenn, and I think I'm 1-4 versus the spread. So I picked them. It's unbelievable. When I think it's going to be a close game, well, it doesn't turn out to be a close game.
What's more important, John, your bank account or them going to the Super Bowl?
My bank account. There's no question about that. Hey, Super Bowl's going on anyway. But I'm not an Eagles fan per se, but I take my objectivity seriously. But
sure,
this team is. I do. Since you went there, I'll go a little bit further. I find it interesting the nitpicking with this team. I find two parts. There's only one 5-0 team in the NFL, so that's pretty good contextually. I still hear that Jonathan Gannon is not aggressive enough. Let Arizona back in the game. That's one. And now I'm hearing Jalen Hurts doesn't throw passing touchdowns. Who cares, Glenn Mack now? I mean, winning football is winning football.
Certainly. I mean, let's start with the second one first, which is Jalen Hurts is, I don't know, top half dozen offensive weapon in the NFL this year. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Combine everything he does. I don't take away his running away from his passing. Okay, he doesn't pass for touchdowns, but he could theoretically set a record for touchdown runs by an NFL quarterback. I'll take those 2 quarterback sneaks and count those. Thank you very much.
Yep.
His game can still improve. So I don't know if it's nitpicking or it's, hey, this guy's got even more of an upside. I'm looking forward to that. I'll say that with him. I love where he is now, and I think he can get better. As far as Jonathan Gannon goes, the defense kind of let down in the second half on Sunday. Okay, I'm not going to, look at what they did to the Vikings. Look at what they did to Washington. They were great. The defense didn't have its best game. I'm going to look at the whole 5 games and say it's the top defense in the league. I'll nitpick one thing, and I've been nitpicking this thing since last year, and it hasn't bitten them yet, but it could. Their special teams, by and large, is awful. And
that was Aaron Cephas's best game, Glenn.
He's been okay this year. He's been fine. Last year, you remember how he finished down the stretch was terrible. Jake Elliott's great. Hey, Dicker the kicker was fine. Their coverage is not good, and their return game is just abysmally bad. Again, it hasn't bitten them to the point where they've lost a game, but they muffed another punt the other day.
Yeah, I know where Johnny's coming from.
That should have been a penalty, though.
Okay,
you got to give.
But you got to catch the ball.
You're right. You're right.
I know where John's coming from with his question because I was on WIP last night and took up legal calls. And again, Jonathan Gannon, we didn't get to the quarterback. Why isn't Gannon more aggressive? They give up 17 points, all right? And Kyler Murray is one of the more exciting weapons in the NFL. Might not be the best, but he brings a lot of excitement. And he's difficult to defend. They give up 17 points. That's not bad. Just because it didn't include 8 sacks like they had previously against Carson Wentz, because it didn't include 5 turnovers like it did the week before against Jacksonville. He gets compared to himself, and he gets knocked down a couple of pegs because his defense, God forbid, gave up 17 points.
You know what I think some of it is? Because, you and I, we talk to fans all the time, right? We talk to callers all the time. I honestly do think there's a little bit of this must be too good to be true, so I got to find what's not working because I can't believe it's all that good. I really do. I believe there's some fans, a contingent of the fan base in every sport. I mean, we see it with the Phillies going well in baseball that is always so afraid, like, well, this is too good to be true. Let me find what's not working. I thought that disappeared a bit after they actually won a Super Bowl, right? You're allowed to be confident. It can work out for us. But, yeah, we'll get that. And, Jody, I'm telling you, and John, the percentage of those callers versus the percentage of the public overall is very different. People call because they call because they're motivated. They call because they're upset. I don't think it matches up entirely with the fan base.
No, I agree with that. Same thing with social media, Glenn, because when people go on Twitter, it's the people that, want to complain, the extremes.
So you don't get a lot of people go on Twitter like, hey, so far this game's not bad. I mean, that's
that's
not
true.
what people are tweeting.
And by the way, because I saw a ton of Eagles fans out there traveling back and forth, they were very competent. So the vast majority are very competent in this team. They should be. When I do look at this team and you bring up the special teams, you're not supposed to look ahead. Nick Sirianni will kill me for looking ahead, but this is Dallas week. Exactly. This is Dallas week. If they get by Dallas, you look at their schedule. I mean, we could be talking 10-0. Matt Rule just got fired in Carolina. Already, you're talking about my bank account. You get all the odds. Who's the next coach going to be in Carolina? Sean Payton's the obvious number one. David Tepper likes to make splashes. He probably is. Number 3, Shane Steichen, the Eagles offensive coordinator. Yeah.
Really?
That's how quickly it goes in this league. You're the only undefeated team. If you're 10-0, where I'm getting with this, Glenn, is there a sense of urgency? This championship window is open. Let's be honest. There's nobody great in the NFC. This championship window is open. And if the Eagles are successful, the people are complaining about Jonathan Gannon. They're not going to have to worry about it. He's going to be a head coach. Shane Steichen might be a head coach. And we saw what happened to Doug Peterson when he lost his top assistants. Even Andy Reid on those legendary coaching staffs, that his first coaching staff is legendary. When he started losing some guys, it became more difficult.
Boy, you really are worried about something that's a real theoretical.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go back up in what you were saying and say I'm going to start with this point. I thoroughly agree with you that the window is open for them to win it this year. Because they're better than most people thought, and because the rest of the conference is probably not as good as people thought. I heard Donovan McNabb on WIP last week say, the thing about the Eagles is they're probably a year away. And I'm thinking, a year away from what?
Yeah.
A year away from us sweeping up the confetti.
By the way,
Broad
Donovan
Street?
was in the locker room. Donovan lives out there, obviously. He was in the locker room doing his glad handing with Jalen Hurts after the game and Nick Sirianni. I don't think he was telling them they were a year away.
I imagine he wasn't.
Might have mentioned it on WIP. Don't think he said it in the locker room.
Hey,
by the Eagles.
Right. Hey, you guys, slow your horses. No, I don't think so. So I absolutely think it's there. I think we also will admit, if we're being honest, that the NFC is right now the junior conference, and the team you play from the AFC will probably be favored in the Super Bowl. But we've been there before, and they won it last time.
That's your Buffalo Bills, by the way. Let's be honest.
It is right now, and we'll see how that plays out. And as you were referring, the upcoming schedule with Pittsburgh and Indy and Carolina, right? It's like, gosh, they got some easy games coming up. If you win, your coaches get poached, and it is a big challenge, as we saw with Andy Reid, with Doug Peterson, to replace those coaches. John, can I worry about that after I pick the confetti out of my balding head?
I only bring it up because Matt Rule got fired in season, so all of a sudden it starts early. And more teams I think are going to start going this way to get the head start. Because let's be honest, Steve Wilkes got the interim tag down there, but I said David Tepper is going to try to make a splash. And if he can't get Sean Payton, maybe it's the next in offensive mind. There's always those hot candidates, the Hansel candidates. If you're a Zoolander fan, he's so hot. There's always that hot candidate. All of a sudden, because of what the Eagles are doing, And because Nick Sirianni handed the play calling over to Shane Steichen and the development of Jalen Hurts, all of a sudden, Shane Steichen's the it guy. Now he's got to finish. This team can't fall apart. But I look at the schedule, Glenn, that they can't fall apart. They're a good football team.
Yeah. They can't miss at this point, as you said, you look at the schedule, they can't miss the playoffs. Dallas with one loss is a surprise to me. We'll see where they head. Their defense is terrific. I'm very impressed by Dallas's defense. The backup Cooper Rush had come in and held the fort down. I'm curious to see where that moves forward. But yeah, I mean, at minimum, barring catastrophic injury or collapse, the Eagles are what, 12-5?
I would think minimum.
I would say that's
I don't know how you
right
get
now.
the 5 losses.
Yeah.
Other than
That's
attrition, significant injury attrition, I don't know how you get the 5 losses.
And injury worries me a little bit. I'm sorry, Jody. Injury worries me a little bit just because of what's happening with the offensive line, right? Is Mailata going to come back? What's the story with Kelsey? They got a lot of hurts on the offensive line. And I don't mean Jalen Hurts. They have a lot of, injuries on the offensive line. That's the only thing, Jody, I think could stop it.
And another thing that I think fans and some media members have been nitpicking, and I don't think people are contextualizing it correctly. Oh, the Eagles don't score points in the second half. Oh, they're great in the first half, and that completely takes out the way the game is going in the conversation. That you don't restart it, all right, put the first half points aside and pick it up at 0-0 at half. That's not the way they play in the National Football League. So are people blatantly overstating the worries about the Eagles are a great second quarter team, but those other 3 quarters I don't know about. It's the score at the end of 60 minutes that counts, right, McMahon?
Last time I looked at the standings in my Philadelphia Inquirer, it was not divided by how many points you scored each quarter. So, yes. Yeah. And games are in content. The Minnesota game, they clearly took their foot off the pedal. That's okay. You had the lead. There are so many things that you can worry about. That does not make my top 1,000.
No sense of urgency. Human nature. If you're not being threatened, you're going to take your foot off the gas a little bit. But I think if you go back to week 1, Glenn, they had that textbook 4-minute offense drive to close out the game. Drained the clock, walked off the field. They had almost the first 9-minute offense in recorded history. If they punch in that touchdown, that is one of the great drives in recent NFL history. They won 17 plays. They took 8 minutes off the clock. Now they had to settle for the field goal, and Arizona had an opportunity. So it's not going to be spun that way. But that's pretty impressive to go 17 plays in a tie game. And they wanted to serve these two masters. They wanted to drain the clock. They wanted Arizona to use their timeouts. They accomplished that, but they didn't punch it in the end zone. So, I mean, there's room for improvement, but it's still pretty impressive.
It's all very impressive. I'm telling you, I covered my only 2 concerns with this team is the potential for injury and what we're seeing with the offensive line a little bit. Want to see how, where's Mailata, and the special teams, particularly the return game. Other than that, baby, let's book passage to Arizona in February.
All right. You mentioned the fact that it's the Cowboys coming up on Sunday, and you and I have had many a Cowboy bet over the years and had a lot of fun with that.
Who's got Cooper Rush this week?
I got my legs shaved one time off of losing a bet there.
I should have had my legs shaved because I had to wear a dress when the Eagles beat the Cowboys. And there is still a black and white photo somewhere in this house of me in that big, ugly blue dress that I wore. Had nice beads though for that dress that my wife purchased for me. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback for the Cowboys yet. We know that Cooper Rush is 4-0. This past week, he needed to complete all of 10 passes for the Cowboys to win because their defense was so dominant. They're getting short fields and touchdowns off defense and the like. He hasn't wowed anybody.
No.
But he's a winner.
Yeah.
And he's won 4 straight games. Is there any question that if Dak is healthy enough to go, that he's the quarterback on Sunday? We know the Cowboys will probably play, much to the chagrin of Jerry Jones. I think the coaching staff is smart enough to go down Nick Sirianni's road of competitive advantage. We don't want to tell anybody anything until we have to tell them. There's no chance of Cooper Rush that Dak Prescott's going to be holding a clipboard on the sideline Sunday, is there?
Not logically. I mean, yeah, Dak Prescott is the quarterback who is their future, who they paid all that money, who has shown over time that he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Cooper Rush, thank you very much. Go sit down. We'll talk to you later. But it is Jerry Jones, so there's always that, he's got to do it his way, smarter than everybody. So he's tougher to predict than most people. Logically, Jody, everything you said makes a ton of sense. If you can read Jerry Jones's mind on that, let me know.
I'm not as concerned about the Cowboys offense as the Cowboys defense.
Oh, yeah.
Glenn. And Dan Quinn is one of the better defensive coordinators in this league. Micah Parsons, I'm not going to say he's better than Aaron Donald just yet, but I think he's number 2 in the world when it comes to defensive players. He's just unbelievable. And I didn't see this coming. Penn State kid, a lot of people projected him to be an all-ball linebacker, and they, kind of fell on it because of injuries. They were forced. DeMarcus Lawrence got hurt. Randy Gregory got hurt, and all of a sudden the Cowboys didn't have a pass rush last year, and they said, well, let's see if he can go get the quarterback, and he can get the quarterback. He is a spectacular player. Is this going to be the biggest test for the offense this year?
Far and away. Far and away. Yeah. Well, and he specifically, I haven't looked down the road at every defense they face, but I agree with you. I mean, you say he's the second best defensive player in the league. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and there's really nothing I can argue with that says he's not, if not better than Aaron Donald right now. And I watched him last week, and he can destroy a game. He's that Lawrence Taylor type who can just by himself make an offense say, okay, whatever our game plan is, it has to start with stopping this guy. And not to beat a dead horse, but if the Eagles' offensive line was healthy, I would feel much better about that. Jack Driscoll going up against Micah Parsons doesn't.
That scares me.
Yeah, that doesn't give me as much confidence as I would like. So that's if I haven't picked the game yet. Spoiler: I'm not picking the Cowboys. But if however I pick that game, the first factor for either team for me, the most important player in the game to figure out is Micah Parsons. And sure, he's great.
He has been great, and the Eagles are going to have to keep him off the quarterback's back on Sunday, which we'll see if they are capable of doing that. Another fan question, Matt, because I know you get a chance to talk to him on the weekend and then specifically during the pregame show. It's not overly caller-driven, but you get some in. Did you get any calls from Eagle fans who are in Arizona? Because once again, Eagle Nation has shown that they are as good a traveling roadshow as there is in the National Football League. Nick Sirianni felt compelled to talk about it after the game. Kyler Murray can't get the signals in his house because Eagle fans are that loud and proud in Arizona. You get any calls from out there from Eagle fans saying they're ready to rock the stadium?
The greatest. Oh, yeah, the greatest. And when you saw it on TV, it's not my original line. I forget if it was one of the broadcasters who said, there were people wearing red for the Cardinals, and there were a whole lot of people wearing green for the Eagles. It looked like Christmas with those two colors dotting the stadium.
I stole that too, Glenn. I stole that line too.
Yeah, I won't take original credit, but I can't.
I don't know who did it though. So
but it's a good line, and it's become a thing now, and it's a great part of what we do as a fan base here, which is they travel. And they took over Washington, which isn't that hard to do. And they took over Arizona, which may not be that hard to do, but it's 3,000 miles away.
Yep.
And I think we're going to see it again moving ahead in some of the other games this year. And you hear the coach talk about it, and you hear the Eagles players talk about it. And I think it's, I don't know how the odds makers work everything out, but I think it's worth a point or two for all those games. When those Eagles fans go out there, they are directly contributing to the team winning.
Yeah, one of the biggest surprises to me was week 1. I was in Detroit. I expected it to be like last year. The Lions fans, because it was the season opener, they didn't let them take over. There were very few Eagles fans there. It shocked me.
The Lions
really
fans
did.
Yeah, I spent some time in Detroit. I have a lot of friends in Detroit, and those poor people going into the season, Lions fans thought this is the year that we legitimately can have
up, man.
And
they
I don't know.
Hyped up.
Yeah, maybe it's because of Hard Knocks, whatever it was. They thought like, finally, we're going to have something. And they look every week, and every week they lose 48-34 or whatever. They're just, were they 1-4 now?
Yeah.
They changed their motif this week. Lost
got
29-0. Got shut out.
That's right. Oh, by the Patriots. That's right.
They were the number 1 offense in football, and they got shut out. You can't.
What's the name? They lost a quarterback named Zappy.
Bailey Zappi.
Bailey Zappi.
The Lions are still the Lions, and that's what
it's
I
still
said.
the biggest. I thought it would be 60-40 Lions fans, something like that.
It was their opener. It was their opener. And here's the other thing. And again, I lived in Detroit. Now I like Detroit. Detroit was my kids were born. I have very fun thoughts of Detroit. If you're an Eagle fan, and it's like, you know what?
Yeah,
hey,
it's not.
You say to the wife, let's do a road trip this year. Where do you want? You want to go to Phoenix? Where do you want to go? You want to go to Dallas? You want to go to Detroit? Let's go to Phoenix.
Dearborn was nice, but I'm not going up again.
Again, I lived there and I liked it, but it's not a travel mecca.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Fair point.
Mac, I got one more question for you on the offensive side, and John's got Shane Steichen out of town by the end of the week. I
do
surprised by that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and again, maybe John and I seem to come down on the defense of Jonathan Gannon more than the Eagle fans do. If there was a coordinator I'm questioning off Sunday, it's Mr. Steichen, not Gannon. The wide receiver screen back in. I was waiting for Jalen Rager's name to be called.
Yeah, the damn bubble
so many
screen.
wide receiver screens.
Screen.
Now, was that all about?
Yeah.
I don't know. And try it once or twice, and that's great. And if they're really not working, let's move on. Let's have more complexity to the game plan than that one or two that pass. I don't know. Maybe they thought they couldn't run on them, so they wanted to develop some kind of short offense that could get going. They obviously saw something when they scouted them that they thought was going to work that didn't. But I was disappointed that when it proved not to be effective, they didn't just just
kept pounding it.
Well, that's because
let's go to something else.
That's because it was the hot read. Arizona blitzes a lot, so their hot read was, for the most part, now Jalen has some different things he can do, but for the most part, he defaulted to that quick screen. Now, the ones that were scripted early to Dallas Goedert, they worked like a Swiss watch. I mean, they were great. Then it gets redundant. Right. That was the one thing Jalen was kind of upset about after the game. Nick Sirianni kind of, I'm not going to say upset, but, he was a little bit cognizant that he was getting some criticism for that. That's the quarterback, though. He went to it too many times.
Yeah,
he went to it too many times.
Yeah, good point.
All right, so if it's a hot read and you want to put it on Jalen, fair enough. All right, the fact that it's a Sunday night game, I think you and I touched on this a little bit on Sunday when we were together on WIP. I don't like it because I'm on the air. I'm on CBS Sports Radio, so I'm going to only be able to watch intently the first half, and then I got to go to work. So that kind of stinks. You're a Sunday at 1 guy, same as me, but you do like night games. I'm not a night game fan. I'll take a 4:00 game over a night game, be it Sunday night, Monday night, or Thursday night. You don't mind the night games. That gets a good build up for you down at the stadium.
I need to clarify.
Yeah.
I like Sunday night road games.
Oh, okay.
And those are the worst for me.
I don't, well, because you cover them.
Yeah.
I'm watching Sunday night in the basement on the Barco Lounger, really comfortable, ready to get into bed at the closing kickoff. You've got a lot more work to do. the home games, which I go to and get home Sunday night at 1 a.m. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm a whining old man. I'll go. I'll do it. I also know, after all these years, as the host of the pregame show, particularly Sunday nights, more than Thursdays or Mondays, which are work days for most people start tailgating pretty early.
Yes, they do.
And when we're doing that pregame show from 5 to 8, that last hour of the pregame show, when people are coming in from drinking in the parking lot for the last 6 hours, it's a pretty rowdy set. And I've got the dump button to hit for obscenity, right? And I'm hitting that button a lot. So it's
and it's only gonna be amped up this week with the Dallas Cowboys coming in.
Hey, let me put it this way. As I'm doing the show with Ike and Reuben Frank and Elliott Shore Parks and all the usual gang of idiots, and people are coming in, the gentlest thing they'll be saying is Dallas sucks. That's the gentlest thing they'll be chanting. It will go many degrees beyond that.
I want to talk about the NFC East as a whole, because I said last week on the show, Jody will remember, I said the New York Giants stink, and they won again. So I give Brian Daboll all the credit in the world. By the way, I still think they stink, and they're 4-1. I think Minnesota stinks, and they're 4-1.
Who do you like?
That's my point. Do you believe the NFC East? Do you believe that this is a good division?
I believe the Cowboys are good. Yes. Clearly the Cowboys are going to be a playoff team. I don't think they're great. I think they got vulnerabilities, but I think they're good. Do I think the Giants are good? I think Daboll is really good. I think Barkley's having a very good season. And I think Daniel Jones hasn't screwed them up yet. So I think they're okay. I don't think they stink anymore. I thought they stunk going.
Yeah, I gotta get off that word.
I might want to move off that one, Johnny Mac.
I like that word, okay. And I give a lot of credit to Brian Daboll. But I'll phrase it this way then, Glenn. Are you scared of the New York Giants? I wouldn't be scared of that team.
No. I think the Giants can be what the Eagles were last year, 9-8, and sneak into the playoffs. That's what the Giants could be. And you know what? If they do, good for them. The Giants and the Jets, those fans up there, Jody, you're from that part of the world that haven't had a lot of success.
And the Jets are showing some life. Jody's Jets.
Yeah,
they're getting you ready to
Skylar Thompson this week down to the third string quarterback for Miami.
Hey,
I'm gonna put my brakes on my Jets a little bit. But here's what I'll say about the Giants.
Matt Amendola, a win is a win, Jody. A win is a win.
Yeah, I'm not gonna turn it down, but I'm not gonna go over the top about it either. But here's what I'll say about the Giants, and that was I had to be up, so you watched the entire game. You and I are doing a show at the same time that the game's on, so I got to pay pretty good attention to, but not perfect. Their defense is underrated. The Cowboy defense is good, and we knew it was going to be good because they have a couple star players like Parsons and like Diggs. The Giant defense doesn't have those Pro Bowl names on defense that everybody knows just yet, but they kept Aaron Rodgers out of the end zone last week. Goes down the field, knocked down a couple of passes.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell the coach was thinking. I know you guys are both singing Daboll's praises. He almost screwed it up at the end the way he handled the last possession. But we'll get it too far afield if I go there. The Giant defense, beware, both you guys. They're competitive. They are a competitive, above average NFL defense. When the Eagles play both the Cowboys and the Giants, don't expect a shootout in any of those four games. I like the Eagles defense, and I like both of those two teams' defenses too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Giants, though, their defensive line has been pretty good for a couple years. Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence. They used to have Dalvin Tomlinson. He used to be even better. The offense has been the problem there. Now, part of it is Saquon's been hurt, and he makes a big difference. But if we give Cooper Rush credit for winning games, we got to give Daniel Jones some credit for winning games, don't we?
Sure. Yeah, well, I think Daniel Jones was an early first-round draft pick, and Cooper Rush was a
That's true.
whatever. So to
Good
put
point.
those guys
Good point.
into the same sentence isn't high praise to Daniel Jones. I think we all agree that the conference is without a great team. I'm taking the Eagles out of the equation here. If you're the Eagles looking at your opponents, there's not a team really that you fear in the league. There's teams like, Dallas looks pretty good. Green Bay, I would have put there. That was a bad loss they had over there in London.
What the heck happened to the Rams?
Right, the Rams. I don't know, Super Bowl hangover. I don't know. And so there's a bunch of teams. Minnesota, I think, is better than they showed here. They're not particularly great, but they're probably good enough to make a playoffs. But there's nobody in this conference that you say, you know what, in the end, the Eagles are going to be beating this team to get into the Super Bowl, and that's going to be a tough one.
And they've got the Giants and the Cowboys 4 more times. With 5 games in, and the 5 wins are great. You still got, and you got Carson coming to Philly. Oops, I almost counted that one out. That will be fun. But you got 4 more matchups yet to come against the Bears and the Giants, which should be fun. G-Mac, it's always fun with you, bud. I will talk to you on Sunday. Thanks for jumping in with us here today.
Looking forward to it. By the way, Jody, this is completely unrelated to this. I'm still in 30 seconds. You and I are both deeply involved in a TV show right now that we love. It's my favorite show of the year, called Bad Sisters. We're going to publicly predict who we think murdered John Paul. You say?
I say it's going to be the accused pedophile from across the street, the neighbor. What's his name? Roger?
Yeah,
Roger, the across the street neighbor?
Yeah.
That's who I'm leaning toward.
Okay, and I'm saying it's going to be the daughter with the funny name, and I'll bet you a beer on it.
Okay, you're on for a beer. You and I have betted up beers over the year. I know you're good.
I'm
for
gonna.
it.
Isn't
I know where to get mine.
One of the stars of that show was in the show Catastrophe. I'm going to recommend that.
Yeah, the oldest sister. Yeah, the oldest sister, and she's, I think, the creator of the show. So.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. But you're right. Bad Sisters is great. Final episode is Friday.
Yes.
All right.
I don't know that I'll see it by Sunday, but hopefully we will.
Oh, you better make it by Sunday.
I will. I know. I'm busy these days, but I will. All right, guys.
That is Glenn Macnow, host of the Eagles pregame show on their radio network. My partner from the weekend. He's my Mac weekend wife. John McMullen is my during the week weekend wife. I'm just Mac and Mac all over the place. Appreciate you guys streaming in. Come back. I still got a couple more things I got to run by Johnny Mac because I didn't get to talk to him yesterday. Eagles related, league related. Chris Franklin, NJ.com, is going to jump aboard now with number 2. Stay right here with us.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Action News at 11 with Rick Williams. It's the team you trust to bring it all together. The stories that impact your community, a sports roundup for the locals, and the AccuWeather forecast you depend on. Action News at 11 with Rick Williams.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Since 1977 at Rafferty Subaru, we have always been about our customers and the community. Early on, a safe and durable option, we've evolved to become the best overall brand according to Kelley Blue Book. Over the last 14 years, we've donated thousands of dollars through the Subaru Share the Love event and found homes for hundreds of pets. The Rafferty family is proud of our 45 years in business. This month, celebrate our anniversary with special financing on select models. Visit us and see why.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit. And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
guys. We had a triple Mac attack just a couple minutes ago when Glenn Macnow was with us. John McMullen hustled his derriere home in time to get aboard right at 8 o'clock, Ubering in as quickly as he could from the airport with his red-eye flight from Arizona. Good to have you back, Johnny Mac. I want to run this by. I talked about it with Barrett Brooks when he was filling in for you yesterday. I compared the Cardinal quarterback to another quarterback who happened to be in the stadium on Sunday and was in the green locker room afterwards to, I think you said glad hand, both Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, which is
well, it went both ways, by the way.
Okay. That's what it looked like from my end that Donovan was in there scoring points with the Philadelphia fan base by talking up the Eagles or bro hugging up the Eagles after he'd gone on WIP and said, as Glenn noted, yeah, the Eagles are a year away. Yeah, why, Donovan? Didn't necessarily agree and or buy what he was saying. But I compared Kyler Murray to Donovan McNabb in this aspect. About his third year, I think it was the start of his third year, Donovan McNabb made a conscious decision that he was going to be less of a running quarterback, that he didn't like being characterized as an athletic quarterback, that he was a pure quarterback. And I do believe that at least in part race played into it. Now, this is 20 years later. The game has changed. I think that's much less of a conversation than it was back when Donovan was coming into the league or had started to establish himself in the league. And I actually thought it was a detriment to the Eagles and to Donovan McNabb and his game that he made what seemed to me to be a conscious decision. I'm not running anymore. I'm just not going to do it. Because when Donovan McNabb first came into the league, his first couple of years, he made big plays with his legs. He could take off and just rip a drive on his own. And it annoyed me when Donovan did that. And I think we've reached that stage with Kyler Murray now. He never takes off. He'll run around. He'll run in circles. He'll go backwards 20 yards to come forward 10 yards, but then still throw the football when he's got green grass and high tides out in front of him forever. And he just doesn't take off. And, oh, by the way, here's the other reason I don't understand it, other than I just think it's bad for the Arizona Cardinals and their ability to win games. He got paid. The contract's already done. If part of your line of thinking is, I don't want to risk my $200 million payday here, you got it. It's already yours. The money's in the bank, Kyler. Make the football plays you got to make. And never was it more evidence than he goes into a slide and comes up short on the biggest key need for a first down play in the entire game. Am I being unfairly critical of Kyler Murray, Johnny Mac?
I wouldn't say unfair. Interesting. He hadn't been running. You're right. He's more of a, and Jonathan Gannon talked about this before the game. He's more of a guy who's going to run around in the bay. He's not going to run like Jalen Hurts runs at times. He's going to run to extend the play and throw it downfield. He did gash the Eagles, I think, 4 times with those quarterback draws. And the last one was actually successful if it wasn't the situation it was. And he came up a half yard short.
Yeah, 9.5 yard gain's a good thing, except when you need 10.
Yeah. 4 carries for 42 yards. He had come in with under 100 yards rushing. So they did it a little bit more because I think they realized they were playing a better team and they needed something if they were going to win, if they were going to steal that game. So he did do it a little bit more. He's a small guy. Like, if you want to compare him, and that's where I think the McNabb comparison, well, a couple of things. Donovan did it because he wanted to prove to people that he could be a passing quarterback. And it was a different time, different generation where, as you mentioned, a lot of it was racially motivated. I don't think you deal with that as much, at least. Quarterbacks can play like they want to play. Kyler's a really small guy. I mean, a really small guy. Whereas Jalen Hurts is this big, physical, people call him a fullback at quarterback. He's the Eagles' short yardage specialist. We all talked about, they need Jordan Howard. They need a Jordan Howard type. No, they don't, because they have the most successful short yardage runner in the NFL. He just happens to play quarterback. Jalen was a power lifter. He could squat like an offensive lineman. When you're talking about weights, they're different physically. So I don't think Kyler's as equipped to do that. So he's always been more of a.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question about that. You say that he's small. Well, short might be the better way to describe it. I don't think he's thin by any stretch of the imagination. He's not as big as Jalen, but he's not exactly thin.
He's not nearly as powerful as Jalen.
Understood.
Maybe powerful as the.
But what are we worried about here? Injury?
No, well, number one, I think that's the way he plays. He has the ability to run, but he was never Lamar Jackson-esque.
2 years ago, Johnny Mack, he rushed for 800 yards.
No, I know. It's way down. I'm not saying it's not way down. But I think he's always cognizant, which I like. He's cognizant of throwing the football first. I like that part of it. He's definitely got to run it more because, when you take that out of his skill set, it's a bad organization, a bad team, a bad coach. And Kyler's dealing with all of that. So, it's not a surprise. And when we talk about the Eagles going, being 5-0, and look, it's a snapshot. They're the best team in the NFL right now. All due respect to the Buffalo Bills. By the way, Damo still won't put the Eagles over the Bills. Understandably so.
Bills were actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, they were pretty impressive. And the Bills are probably a better team. I'm going to say that. They're probably a better team. But the Eagles deserve to be number one right now because they're undefeated. That's my opinion. But it's a snapshot. It's a meaningless snapshot. But last year at this time, the Cardinals were 5-0. They ended up being 7-0. The last unbeaten team in 2021. And since that loss, what are they? 6-10, 6-11, something like that. Just because you're 5-0, you got to keep doing things correct. And that's what Nick Sirianni constantly preaches, one day at a time, one game at a time. It's cliche, but the minute you think you got this thing solved, it'll jump up and bite you. So you got to be very cognizant. And look, Arizona was beating people with superstar players, whether it was Kyler Murray, whether it was Chandler Jones. Now they don't have Chandler Jones. Now Kyler's doesn't have his DeAndre Hopkins isn't out there. That's a big impact on them. And all of a sudden they can't win at home. They've lost 8 straight at home. And they were 7-0 last year, Jody. And they've lost 8 straight at home since that. That first loss was against Green Bay in Arizona, and they haven't won since at home.
So you need to keep it up or things can go bad. I think the Eagles are in a better position this year than Arizona was last year, but I was kind of excited by Arizona last year since I bet them at 45-1 to win the Super Bowl. I thought I had a shot. Yeah, that went by the boards big time. All right, Johnny Mac, I want to hit on this before our pal Chris Franklin joins us. Just another example of me not being able to comprehend our friends at Pro Football Focus and how they go about rating and ranking things. On I think it's EaglesWire.com. They always post
I haven't even looked at the grades.
Okay, then I'll if you can get your Pro Football Focus up, please feel free to do so as quickly as possible. Again, they break it out for you on EaglesWire.com. The top 10 Eagle rated players for just this game, not the entire season, just this game this past week against the Cardinals. The highest rated player, Brandon Graham, who BG shows some activity down on the defensive line. I don't think in general the defensive line was, I know it wasn't near as dominant as it was a couple weeks ago against the Commanders, but he got the highest grade of 90.2, which is a very high grade. Second ranked player, Jason Kelsey, 78.9. That's a big drop off. More than a 10-point difference between your first best player and your second best player. And of course, we know Kelsey missed a couple of plays. Your boy, Jordan Davis, third-rated player. He made a couple of
Jordan
great
played well.
individual stops, just shed a tackler like a mosquito and a blocker, and then made the play in the backfield. He really did play well. Fourth, James Bradbury. Where's our buddy Groats? Does he get these? Does he check Pro Football Focus?
Groats is now, he doesn't like Pro Football Focus, but man, he is barking up the wrong tree with Bradbury. That is a good football player.
Do not understand his disdain for Bradbury. I think he's been great. Goddard, fifth best player, understandable. Big game, huge play at the end of the game when they were running it right down the Cardinals' throats. They needed to get a big play on third down. Who comes up? Goddard makes the catch, makes the extra yards thereafter. Josiah Scott, their sixth best overall player, not just defense, offense and defense, rated by Pro Football Focus.
He did play well because he did not play well against Jacksonville. He had a
much improved,
much better game.
Took a big step forward this week. I would agree with that. Jalen Lane, then Jalen, then Isaac Seumalo, and Josh Sweat last. I'm surprised that Brandon was number one by a significant amount. I thought the defensive line just in general was a little tough to handicap. Kudos to Josiah Scott.
Who had a bad game?
I was going to say
TJ Edwards had a bad game.
No linebackers, neither TJ or Kazir White near the top 10. What happened to the LBs this week?
Yeah, they didn't play well. Tackling was an issue for the first time since Detroit. And I think that was a big problem. When the defense did have problems, they didn't tackle. And that's what this defense is based on, especially when they're in that quarters coverage. It's all right, you're going to throw it underneath, but you got to tackle. And when you miss the tackle, all of a sudden it looks bad. So I think that was the big problem defensively. Pro Football Focus, they do these rankings. They have sort of like green is good, yellow's, mediocre, red is bad. I always look at the reds. And if you over 90's blue, so Brandon got blue. I don't know why it's blue, but anyway, blue chip, I guess. So big red marks in tackling for Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, Darius Slay, Marlon Tuipulotu, and TJ Edwards. A lot of missed tackles. Four. They gave TJ Edwards 4. That's why he had such a poor grade. And that normally doesn't happen with TJ Edwards. So that's kind of thing. If you remember week 1, I wasn't worried as like everybody else was saying the house was falling. They missed 15 tackles.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to continue. I said it that week, Jody. Same thing with TJ this week. All right, he had a bad game. He missed a couple tackles. Not going to happen consistently. So that kind of stuff is easily correctable.
No, and you give a guy a bad week, you chalk it up every once in a while. You have too many of those and you start to worry, but Edwards has been pretty close to phenomenal the first 4 weeks of the season. Somebody had a bad game there. It just, I thought one of the two Eagle linebackers would be in their top 10 rankings. It ended up, neither one of them was. I don't think Kaiser White played exceptionally well either. And the Cowboys are going to come in here and try and run the football, whether it's Dak Prescott or Cooper Rush, which, again, let me get on the record. It will be Dak Prescott if he's healthy. I don't know if he's healthy. Jerry Jones had him playing 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Dr. Jones had him playing 2 weeks ago.
So I got no idea whether he's going to play or not. But that was before Cooper Rush kept ripping off victories. So I don't know how much of that plays in. It really shouldn't. That's the thing that bothers me. And, I do the national show, CBS on a weekend. I get some Cowboy callers. Got one guy who's been saying for 2 weeks, if Cooper doesn't lose, they can't pull him out. You just don't remove a quarterback. When a guy's a career backup and you've got a guy that you've committed $200 million to, yeah, that's when you get replaced. That's when your starting quarterback goes back. You want to take a stance of you're undefeated, you can't be pulled. I can go down the road of if you're the starting quarterback, you don't lose your job because of injury. I don't see any way that Dak Prescott is holding a clipboard on the sidelines. Either he's going to be inactive and Rush is going to play, or Dak is going to be the starting quarterback come Sunday.
Yeah, the old cliche, the most popular guy in town is the backup quarterback, usually until you see the backup quarterback. In the case of Cooper Rush, he's winning games. So you knew these knuckleheads were going to come out of the woodwork. Oh, they're winning games with Cooper Rush. They lost with Dak Prescott. If Dak is healthy, they got to get way more explosive. I always talk about, to me, the definition of a great quarterback is increasing your margin of error. That's it. Your margin of error is very small when Cooper Rush is the quarterback. The Cowboys have been able to win games. It's not about the quarterback. It's about the entire football team. It makes it harder when you can't score on a consistent basis, when you can't, if a game turns into a shootout, you're not winning that game with Cooper Rush. You just know you're not winning that game. Now, the Cowboys have a very good defense, so they've been able to go about it and win in different ways, and credit to them. But anybody talking about Cooper Rush versus Dak Prescott, even like it's a conversation, like it's a valid they cut he deserves all the credit in the world for being a game manager, but he's a game manager. Dak Prescott is a star quarterback when he's healthy. Now, is he going to be healthy? There's no way he's going to be healthy, Jody. And if he is, even if he's cleared by doctors, not Dr. Jones, real doctors, even if he's cleared, you have the rust factor involved. So, but look, if he's cleared, you got to play. There's no conversation there.
And as far as you know, yesterday I was lucky enough to get our buddy John McMullen to agree to come on with us on Friday. Our Cowboy beat guy who was on with us a couple times last year and did the Cowboy preview for us during the offseason this year. He said he could jump in with us on Friday. I'm assuming the Cowboys have a similar, if not exactly the same setup down there in Dallas that you guys on the beat have for the Eagles, that you're allowed into practice for a designated period of time, not all that long.
Yeah.
And you get to see some, but probably not enough, or as much as you or all Eagle fans would want to be able to draw some conclusions about what the team's working on, what they're going to do. What do you do with Dak this week? Is he taking the first?
Well, if he's starting, reps? He's taking the first team rep. The first team quarterback takes, 90% of the reps, maybe more than that. You prepare the quarterback. Now, I don't think there's any team that allows the media to watch practice anymore. You used to be able to watch practice, but everybody kicks this out now. So, but behind the scenes, you can usually get it from the players in the locker room, whether, you do it kind of slyly, and they give up the goods. Right. Yeah. They give up the goods. They'll know if he's taking the first team reps, and if he's going to play, he's taking the first team reps. That's just the way it goes. They're not going to play him if he's, taking a rep here and there.
Well, there's no way the Cowboys can fudge it and get a competitive advantage by keeping the Eagles guessing as to who's going to be taking that first snap under center when the Cowboys get the ball on Sunday night.
No. What's the competitive advantage? The Eagles will prepare for Dak Prescott. And if you prepare for Dak Prescott, you're prepared for Cooper Rush.
Okay.
One's a really good quarterback and one is a game manager and a backup quarterback. No. Now, Nick Sirianni, look, I'd laugh at him. I like Nick personally. I think that comes across. I think Nick knows that. I think his competitive advantage nonsense is exactly that. It's nonsense. You're not getting a competitive advantage. But if it makes him feel better, if it makes him sleep better, I guess.
Is that what it is? So Nick can get good winks at night. Is that why he does all this stuff that he does?
I don't know. But you know, sometimes I think, you know, no, I'm not even going to say it. But people think, yeah, I will say, people think they're more important than they are. You know,
you don't think that about Nick, though.
Well, in certain instances with competitive advantage stuff, no, not as a whole, but in this instance with the injuries, like not telling us 10 minutes before and we walk out to the practice run, we see there's no stinking competitive advantage. That's what I'm talking about, Jody. Stuff like that. And it's a very small window. It doesn't matter. It doesn't give you a competitive advantage. And I don't know why they do it.
The competitive advantage Eagles will have over the Cowboys this week is that after being able to judge via TV, John McMullen was there. 2 games this year at Washington against the Commanders and at Arizona against the Cardinals. Eagle fans came in and took over the stadiums. There are a lot of Cowboy fans across the country. There is a goodly amount of Cowboy fans in Philadelphia.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of Cowboy fans there, but they're not taking over.
Not in comparison to the way the Eagle fans showed up in Washington or in Arizona. There'll be Cowboy fans, but not to the volume and or the percentage that the Birds have been
Here's
able
how
to
I'll
win.
describe it, Jody. There will be more Cowboy fans than any other team's fans at a Link game this season. There will be more Cowboys fans than any other team coming in has fans of their
I
nature.
don't know about
but
that.
it's still not a lot. It's not a lot.
What week is Eagles Giants?
I don't know. I have to look it up. Yeah, the Giants are playing well, but still there's more.
And there are some very well-heeled Giant fans.
If they keep playing well,
New York money will get in a limo and come down if they really think Big Blue is back in the mix as a competitive
well, I'll tell
team.
you what, that is
the Jets. My Jets, blue collar.
That is
Giants, blue blood. And it costs a lot of money to get Eagle fans to give up their tickets in the secondary market. The Giants fans have been known.
That is week 18, Jody. Giants at Eagles. So if that game is meaningful, which it probably won't be.
If the Eagles already have the best rocket record in the league locked up, and here comes the JV again, just like they did against the Cowboys last year. Oh, the Giant fans will be all over that one.
Yeah, you're right. Especially if they get the free pass into the playoffs because the Eagles aren't playing. Could be that situation.
Could be. We shall see. All right, coming up next, our bud Chris Franklin back outside. Nice enough to be outside. He's got the sun shining in his face. He will shine with us next here on Birds 365.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Welcome to Pond Lee Hockey. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lee Hockey a call.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown's 5-day used car super sale. Jeff puts an end to high prices now. 5 days of the best car, truck, and SUV deals ever. Over 1,000 vehicles, every make and model. Stop overpaying. See Jeff today and get a quality car, truck, or SUV now. The 5-day used car super sale. Experience how easy it is to deal at Jeff's. Nobody treats you better. Nobody gives you more. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown. GoJeffAuto.com.
Got John McMullen back from Arizona, just getting in under the wire. Good to have Johnny Mac back with me, Jody Mac. And we had a third, our pal Chris Franklin from NJ.com, coming us live from the backyard, even though he's only got a hoodie on. Glenn was indoors and had a jacket. I'm not sure why.
Hey, it was a little chilly out there. You know, going from Arizona to the chilly, it's quite a punch in the face, Chris.
It's a shock. It hit me hard because as soon as I was used to it, like that 87 degrees, it was warm. I'm feeling good. Get off the plane. Oh, what the heck just happened? It was a shock, all right.
You're a tough guy. You're back outside again. We'll give you props on that. Let me go here first, since Johnny Mac went where you went earlier in the show. The next coach of the Carolina Panthers will be Jonathan Gannon or Shane Steichen. Which one is it going to be? Who's going to come in and get cherry-picked from the Eagles staff to be the Panthers' next head coach?
I think it's going to be – I really, really think it's going to be – I think it's Steichen. I really do, because I think Carolina's going to be – yeah, because I wouldn't be surprised if Gannon went to something like the Washington, because they have the defensive pieces there.
That'd be great, by the way. That'd be great.
You got the thing. I mean, next year I mentioned the Mountain Union and John Carroll stuff. Hey, that'd be good. Add that a little bit to there, and you got all that other stuff. So might as well. You might as well have what they there. But I think Shane's going to have the ability to get a decent quarterback and develop whatever quarterback they get down there, and they got some raw pieces there. So
I mean, he's got to finish the deal. But I brought this up on the show because it's amazing how quickly things move. So I'm sure, you know, when these things happen, Matt Rule gets fired. I'm sure you get all the emails, you get all the odds emails,
oh, yeah.
and they put Steichen at 3 behind Sean Payton, who we all know. David Tepper won. Sean Payton's not going to Carolina. He's going to have opportunities to go. He's probably going to end up in Dallas when
Dallas.
Yeah, exactly.
The Dallas coach is winning games too, just like Cooper Rush. You got to give him credit.
He'll lose in the playoffs, and Sean Payton can write his own ticket. He's not going to Carolina. And then number 2 is Dan Quinn, who's probably going to be upset at Dallas because he's not going to get their job because they're going to go after Sean Payton. And then number 3 is Shane Steichen. So it's one of those situations where it is what it is. It's betting markets. But it's interesting how you turned into a hot candidate so quickly in the NFL.
Well, when you look at what he's done with Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts, you think, to me, I think behind Payton, I thought Steichen would be at least number 2. Because he's proven what he can do with a young quarterback, which is a valuable commodity. And you see nowadays teams aren't going so much when it comes to the defensive side when it comes to the ball. They do sometimes. I mean, you saw Eberflus get hired, some of these other guys, but they tend to trend to younger offensive coaches. So,
yeah, and that hurts Gannon a bit. You got a big Cardinal fan chirping in the background of Shane Steichen.
Cardinals and Blue
wasn't an
Jays are just
eagle?
going
Sounded
back
like
and
an
forth.
eagle to me. Maybe I don't know eagle chirping well enough, but yeah, the Eagles are
That's
team
the only
that are
Cardinal that won this week.
Yeah, between them and the Blue Jays are fighting. There's a turf war, I think, going on back here. It's crazy. I don't know, but yeah, it's a bad week to be a Cardinal, though.
Yeah, for both the baseball and football side. All right, John and I were laying out blame earlier. Biggest play of the game, Eagles and Cardinals. Sorry to say it was a Cardinal offensive play, and it wasn't anything the Eagles did extremely right. The quarterback decided to take a dive, a slide at 9.5 yards when he needed 10, got up, probably didn't know what the down was, may have been misguided by the scoreboard looking up that had gifted the Cardinals a first down that they hadn't earned yet. And they spike the ball, and then they bring out a practice squad kicker who misses a shankopotamus as far quickly right as you could possibly get it. Who was the most to blame on that play? How do you I think we all have to agree from an Eagle perspective, they got lucky. From a Cardinal perspective, they shot themselves in the foot. How do you ferret out the blame on that play?
I probably go. I have to look at the safeties. I know they're covering deep, but I think they have to look and they
No,
they have their eyes
not on
open.
the Eagles. No, I'm talking about from a Cardinal
Cardinal
standpoint.
standpoint. Oh, I put that on Murray himself because the quarterback's supposed to know at any time, no matter what the down distance is, where the sticks are, what the whole entire situation. And the fact that he wasn't able to, he started his slide early, and just dove it and not dives or anything like that for it. Because even if that happened, he could have dove for it, then clocked it afterwards and get the affair. He should have known. Okay, because of course you look at the down marker, you dive in that one. That's to me, that's all completely on Murray because it shouldn't have been that spot to go ahead and clock.
Now, here's where I gave him a bit of a pass, Chris. So tell me if I'm wrong here. But I put more of the blame on Kingsbury. You know how modern players look at the scoreboards, right? Like if they're breaking out for a long touchdown, they'll look up at the scoreboard to see if somebody's near them or if they're in the distance. It's become ingrained in them. And, whoever the operations guy is at State Farm Stadium, he's probably in trouble because they turned it over. We all saw it. It said first down. And that's why I give, during that drive, it's Dallas week. We talked about Dak Prescott in the playoffs last year. His mistake was not taking the football, handing it to the official, because the official's the one that's got to place it. And all of a sudden they don't get that final playoff. Kyler was doing that, man. He was up on the ball. He was handing the ball to the official, and he made a mistake. He shouldn't have slid. That's where I blame Kyler. But when that big scoreboard says first down, I don't know. I give him a pass on that. I don't give the head coach a pass on that.
Now, he put the team in a position to have to make a decision to spike it or not. If you're a guy who's making as much money as he is now, you got that big contract. You want to be. There's questions about you about all sorts of things about your game, and you have a chance to get that first down for sure. You don't chance and go, well, I'm going to give it up. If it's the first quarter, okay.
Well, that part, yeah, he can't give himself up. That part, right, I think, is fair criticism. But as far as the 3rd and 1 versus first down, I don't know. I blame that more on Kingsbury, who, by the way, I talked about the betting markets. Next coach to be fired. Matt Rule was obviously fired. Cliff Kingsbury now leading the field.
And he is not doing a good job, but I'll tell you what. You want to talk about pulling the plug early? The Philadelphia Eagles very easily could have been coached by Josh McDaniel.
Oh,
yeah. He stinks on ice. He's terrible. And I've been saying it for years, and I'm being validated by the job he's doing with the Raiders this year. But one quickie before we get back to the Birds. It just dawned on me. Do you know why Kyler Murray was to blame on that play more so than the coach, whatever? His baseball experience came back to him. He was doing a pickup slide. That's what he was doing. I know. I played baseball 40 years ago, but I used to try and do that. I could never do the pickup slide. You go down and you come right back up. No. If I go down, I'm staying down on a slide. I'm putting all effort into getting to that base as quick as possible. I'm not worried about getting up and moving in advance to another base. That's what Kyler was doing. He was trying to go pick up slide so he could quickly handle the ball to the referee and then be able to get up and spike it. If Kyler Murray wasn't as good a baseball player as he was, he would have dove and made that play and not gone into a slide.
How much you want to bet that they were hoping that he would be the old Mike Vick who couldn't slide at all? He's just stumbling forward. How much you want they want that one over against that one? That was
wanted. That's what you wanted in that situation. You got to put your head down. It was Kirk Cousins against Chicago. Can't run at all. And maybe that I was trying to think about it. We were watching the early games at State Farm Stadium. He needed a first down. He went and got the first down. Kyler Murray didn't go get the first down. That's you need to do that in that situation.
Yep.
I want to compare these two quarterbacks, Chris.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray. I think Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback. I mean, and I start to think about it, and this is the way I think about it. If I have a bad team, I probably want Kyler Murray to be my quarterback over Jalen Hurts. But if I have a good team, I want Jalen Hurts to be my quarterback over Kyler Murray. Does that make sense?
See, I just take Jalen Hurts in both situations because I think Murray's got the arm talent. I like what he does. He can put touch on the ball, and I see all the stuff he can do physically. But it's too. When I look at some of the intangibles, when I look at the off the field stuff, when I look at the way that when it comes to you seeing the stuff with the sideline stuff. The way he acts, so there's still too many things where I'm just looking like, okay, if you put Jalen Hurts on the Cardinals team, that Cardinals team is the one I think is undefeated because you think the little things in the personnel they have on it, and then you got DeAndre Hopkins coming back on that team, they'd be tough to stop.
Well, yeah,
you put Kyler Murray on his team. You put Kyler Murray on his team, I got some serious questions. I mean, when it comes to a situation where it'd be tight,
well, that's what I mean. Kyler can't manage a great team. The Eagles have a good roster. I don't think Kyler can manage a good roster as well as Jalen Hurts. But if I need somebody just to make plays because I don't have other players and just run around like a knucklehead and do off schedule.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, that part. Yeah, that one you guys actually buy time and just roll around and do the family circle thing, bounce around and then throw it 10 yards out. All right, cool. That works that way too. But yeah, in this offense, I'd rather have Jalen Hurts than this one by a lot. I think he's surpassing. Who would have thought we said that last year?
Didn't think we were going to get a family circle reference. I like it, Mr. Franklin. Thank you. And oh, by the way, the Eagles are going to try and burn a copy of this tape because you guys just made a really good argument as to why Jalen Hurts needs to be paid more than Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And that would be $230 million with $160 million of it guaranteed. So Eagle fans, get ready. The Eagles are going to have to restructure their team, and not necessarily for this next upcoming year because he's on the final year of his rookie deal. But if they're going to get an extension done, the quarterback payment is going to go up real fast, real high because Jalen is playing as well as he is. And yes, we can all say we don't like it. I remember, quick aside, I had Bobby Clark on once when Mac and Gunn was with us, hour number one. We're doing a show together. Bobby Clark said somebody had signed a big contract, and I think Lindor Steele was coming due. He said, I'm not going to be dictated by other contracts in the league. Oh, yeah, you are, Bobby. Yeah. You can say that all you want, but the reality is that's the way sports works. That was 20 years ago. It's still very much that way today. Oh, that's going to dictate how much Jalen Hurts is going to make as much as anybody else. He's going to be comped to the other quarterbacks, and Kyler Murray is as close a comp as you're going to get, and we know what he's making, and both of you guys just said, it's not close. I'll take Jalen Hurts over Kyler Murray.
It's amazing how quickly. And by the way, that development is one of the reasons Shane Steichen is a hot candidate. And that's kind of how it moves that quickly in the NFL. Now, since what we do is nitpick in certain circumstances, and I said this on our post-game show, and I'm going to say it to you as well, Chris. I don't want to be dramatic, but if I see another damn outside bubble screen, smoke screen, zero screen, I'm going to shoot myself in the face. I'm tired of it. And I'm blaming the quarterback for that because that was a hot read. Some of the scripted stuff, I don't have an issue with. And it worked, by the way. The Dallas Goedert stuff early in the game they ran that well. But then he just kept going back into it, back to it, back to it. You got to throw a curveball. You can't do the same thing every time. That I blame the quarterback for. Am I wrong?
I think they were doing it part of the game plan. I think they were reading the box to me a lot. I think they were just going, okay, if there's 7 or more in a box, okay, we're just going to go this and try to supplement that from the outside run game.
Steichen. I can't give him the Carolina job now.
Yeah, he's still going to like, sorry, now I got to come back another year now. But it looked a lot like that because when the Cardinals were running that amoeba look, when they had the linebackers starting to move around, they couldn't discern themselves, but they all were within the tackle box. It's like, okay, we don't know which way they're going to go. Okay, go outside and try to get up 2 or 3 yards, and that's fine a couple of times. But I'm shocked the team didn't. I'm shocked they didn't make an adjustment off of that by doing a fake bubble screen and going deep because they were selling out. They were spread out. So it was almost like somebody dropped up as a drop of water and it just went that way. So they all spread out horizontally. The vertical was there. The seams were there. They tried to do it like pump fake.
Yeah, you got to show something else. Otherwise, they're just and they kept jumping at the end. They figured out, all right, this is what they're going to do. So maybe there's blame to go on both sides, but you got to throw a curveball in there.
That's an adjustment that I think should have been made late in the third quarter, at least to take a shot to soften up those safeties from coming down a little bit. So I put on the trio: Sirianni, Steichen, and also Hurts. I mean, one of them should have gone like, hey, you know what? Let's try to do something a little different. So taking a shot off of that, and I think they would have had success with it.
All right, let's jump back into evaluating the Eagles in the vacuum that was this game against the Cardinals. After allowing the Cardinals to tie it 17-17, the Eagles get the ball back, 9 minutes and change to go. 17-play drive, 8 consecutive running plays, take 8 of the 9 and change minutes off the clock before, they had to settle for a field goal and you wanted a touchdown. But that was pretty damn impressive, and that was Eagle getting back to their DNA, that they know they've got that trump card, and when they have to play it, they can play it. We can just go mano a mano with our offensive line against your defensive line, and we're going to win because we have that much faith in our offensive line, guys. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Chris Franklin?
It's a good thing. It's good because I think it's when in doubt, and I know we just talked about bowl screens, even if they had 7 or 8 guys in the box, they've had success with that. Teams have done this in the past where they loaded everybody up, and the Eagles have still found a way to get creases and still move the ball down the field, and it wears you down. It helps you in the fourth quarter. And when in doubt, if you need to settle things down, because you had that patchwork offensive line for most of the game, and then so the fact that you're trying to throw that much, I questioned that a little bit because I'm like, okay, you got Opeta now. It was like basically look, most of the second unit was on the left side. So I think when in doubt that this team has to go back on a run. It doesn't have to be a pass thing.
But here's the way I was asking the question. If you want to dismiss me again, feel free. They're 2 for 2 at doing this year. When they needed to do it against the Lions, they did it. Ran the 4 minutes off the clock. Thank you. Drive home safely, Detroit. And they did it again for the most part. All right, they didn't get the touchdown, but they got 8 of the 9 minutes off the clock, and they scored. That's
and all 3 timeouts, by the way. And
right.
all 3 timeouts.
They made them use 2. They got lucky on that third one.
Yeah,
the
defensive player got hurt. Though. That's the rules. So yeah, I mean,
they burned all 3 timeouts. There was some luck involved in this Eagle win, and that was part of it. But it's not a given. We like to think it's a given. 2 for 2 is 2 for 2. But do you have any fear whatsoever that the Eagles thinking in that direction? Well, when in doubt, we can just run. We can just stick it up their rear ends when we need to because we're that good. Is there any fear that they might be too good at it and might just take it for granted that they're that good a running team?
Not at all. You do what you do best, and you live and die by that. And this team is a better running thing. You got to, if you're going to go ahead and if you're going to have success the way they've had success, you got to go back and not rely on throwing the ball all the time and giving them more time. So this team runs the ball well. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league. Why not use them and pound it and ground and pound and get 6 yards that way?
Now, one of the things, and I thought Nick explained this pretty well, you have this narrative that, all right, this is not sustainable because Jalen ran it 15 times again. That's a lot of runs for a quarterback. But how many of those 15 were design runs? Not very many, but other than the quarterback sneaks. So you had the off schedule, the real design runs, read option, whatever you want to call it, quarterback sneaks, which don't count. How many quarterback sneaks did they have? Which, by the way, are all successful.
Right.
Every single one of them.
6 points. Thank you very much.
Yeah. There's very little danger on quarterback sneak plays. So really, of that 15 carries, how many were design runs? He's just a really difficult player to deal with. Jalen Hurts is just incredibly difficult. And now I hear people saying he's got 4 passing touchdowns. Who cares?
I don't get what people. This is me personally. And it's to me. I just always feel like, okay, if you do whatever wins the game, then that one too. Like, well, you didn't do it this way, so it doesn't count. Like, no, you just continue trying to do what you do the best. I never understood it. Well, you only have 4 touchdowns. Well, you can't throw the ball through. It doesn't matter as long as you look on that scoreboard and they get more points than the other team. That's what I thought was the more important thing. So if he's getting 4 touchdowns, but if he's moving the ball through the air, say from 20 to 20, all of a sudden he decided to go ground and pound and go in that way too. It works too. So
Johnny Mac, I'm going to ask you to look something up real quick. I'm asking Chris this question. Safeties rankings for Pro Football Focus so far this year. I'm specifically looking at Marcus Williams of the Baltimore Ravens because John has told us, and a lot of others have reported, the Eagles uber aggressive in trying to get him. The price just went a little higher than they thought he was worth, so they backed off, and he ended up with Baltimore. But the Eagles really wanted him to be their other safety, of course, for Marcus Epps last year. The Raven defense on the back end has been terrible this year, so I'm assuming I don't watch every snap of their games like I do the Eagles, that he hasn't played all that well. Fractured his wrist, dislocation. He's going to be gone months, as in that's 8 weeks minimum. Did the Eagles have the karma thing going for them this year? In addition to being 5-0 and doing everything right on their own, the guy they really wanted as a free agent wasn't playing well, and he's hurt. The guy they wanted to hire as the coach 2 years ago, Josh McDaniel, sucks with the Raiders. Thank you very much for holding out for Nick Sirianni, Jeff Lurie. Is there a karma thing going on here?
And don't forget Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson, even though the Eagles.
And 2 more. Thank you very much, Johnny Mac.
Yeah. The Eagles would like you to forget that.
It never happened. You never saw it. That Men in Black thing flashing out. Never did that. But yeah, I mean, every year you need a little bit of luck. I mean, nobody's on skills. It's rarely you see a team that's dominant that goes throughout the thing. I mean, look at the Super Bowl year. We had Jake Elliott making a 60-plus yard field goal. Like, who does that on a regularity? You need a little bit of luck along the way. And they sure. When you look at a lot of those names that worked out, I have questions about when it comes to Marcus Williams and the system he's in. Given that Wink Martindale's up north now, I think that he would have done better with Wink as his defensive coordinator. But I look at that, and also he's got to worry about Kyle Hamilton on the side down there too. But what another guy that looking now, I still think, you know what, maybe they dodged a bullet with that too. You got Jordan Davis to Kyle Williams.
I think, you know, I don't know. You know, I haven't watched much Baltimore Raven football this year. He was playing pretty well according to Pro Football Focus. He's 14th really? Best safety.
Okay. All right, so it's not on him. It's on the corners then.
I think he would have been a perfect fit here because I know how the Eagles play defense, and it's, you know, a lot of quarters coverage, a lot of cover 2 at times, and you spin off into whatever you're going to spin off into. And he's a great coverage safety. So I think he would have been a perfect fit here. I don't know what they're doing in Baltimore, but he's a good player. But you know, and it's one the Eagles missed out on. That's not one where I don't think they're lucky. You know, you can never project injuries. That part of it. I mean, you can't legislate injuries. I say that all the time. They'd be a better football team if Marcus Williams was here because he's a better player than Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. But they made do, and they got at least an upgrade. So I give Howie Roseman credit for that. But the McDaniel stuff, yeah, they shouldn't have even interviewed him, never mind considered him. And the Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson stuff, I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, we talk about Josh McDaniels. Well, Nathaniel Hackett might be worse than Josh McDaniels, if that's possible. So there's some issues there with Russell. But I don't know. I don't think anybody saw this coming from Jalen Hurts. I don't think the Eagles saw it coming. I don't think you saw it coming, Chris Franklin. I certainly didn't see it coming. If somebody did see it coming, maybe it was Jalen Hurts, but I don't know who else.
Yeah, I thought he'd have a better year, and I didn't think he'd be at this level. I didn't think you say safely right now he's a top 5 quarterback. I thought he'd be good just to have him like a 10, 12 around that range. But the fact that he's playing at a high level, that he's getting a lot more touch on those balls, like his mechanics are so refined right now. It looks so much better. That one play where he scrambled in the first quarter, got out to roll to his left, where everybody says, "Oh, he scrambled to his left. He's going to have issues." Well, then he resets his feet and throws it.
That, yeah. Tom House is making more money, man.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it on this, Chris. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, does Tom House get a Super Bowl ring?
He better. He better send him two,
Actually,
3,
it's
4,
Adam.
whatever.
Adam. I always say Tom because I can't pronounce Adam's name. Adam Deju, however you pronounce it. He does more of the heavy lifting, so he deserves. He deserves the Super Bowl.
And they better buy that. They better buy the. See, he can get his services for the rest of the time, like 10-year contract. Because if he can do that for Hurts, might as well keep him around and do whatever he does.
He should get a percentage of that.
Hey, if Jeff Lurie gave my buddy Howard Eskin a Super Bowl ring when they won in 2017, wearing his furs on the sidelines, he can spring for a Super Bowl ring for both the Jalen Hurts' quarterback coaches to get his.
Freaking Jeffrey sprung for everybody. Every employee of that organization got a Super Bowl ring that I know of. Full-time employee.
Here's guys who would get one: Tom House, Dado, and John's favorite defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, who is apparently consulting with the Eagles.
And by the way, I don't know why people say that, because I hate this scheme. I hate quarters coverage.
You reference him on a daily basis, Johnny Mac.
I reference him on a daily basis because I'm trying to teach the Eagles fans how the Eagles play defense. They use Vic Fangio's scheme. Half the league uses big scheme now. It drives me insane. I don't.
But he's only getting one Super Bowl ring, and if he's getting it from the Eagles because they win it, and he is actually a quote unquote consultant for the Eagles. Report on Bleeding Green Nation this morning that he is being paid a fee.
He was here. He was here a bunch over the summer, but he was doing a tour around the NFL. He might be consultant. He might be one of those deals. He might be consulting with multiple teams because they all use the stinking defense.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he's either a senior defensive assistant or defensive coordinator here next year if Gannon goes. I really would not be surprised at all.
He's a Philly guy. He's He's
always a possibility. CF, always a pleasure, brother. We'll get you back up again next week. You get to hang out Sunday night with McMullen and then join us early in the week thereafter. You'll be so tired of looking at him by the time.
I'm already hitting you up. You're getting up early, 9:20 post-game Chris Franklin.
I'll be ready to go. I'll be like Eflin. I'll be ready to go on short rest. I'm ready to throw.
He'll be outside with the Blue Jays or the Orioles or whatever the hell the birds he's got.
And read Chris at NJ.com at C Franklin News with our buddy Les Bowen. NJ.com.
Chris, always great stuff. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Y'all have a good one now.
Chris Franklin here with us on Birds 365. All right, coming back. Yeah, I've been meaning to bring up Vic Fangio all show long, and I just had forgotten.
Yeah, everybody thinks I like Vic Fangio. I'm just telling the fans what the Eagles run. That's all I'm doing. And I've been telling you, Jody, I've been telling you that since the summer.
Yeah, forever you've been talking about Vic Fangio. That's why I felt the need to.
Now people finally know. So I want my apologies.
They have been. They are playing a form of the Fangio defense, but you're right. Like half the league does. So it's not it seems like a bigger deal than it actually is. But I did catch the note on Bleeding Green Nation today that he is a consultant for the Eagles. And when I hear consultant, that means paycheck. That means you're being paid. That means you're expected to contribute, even if it's from afar, that the coaches can call him, get him on the phone when they need him to ask him certain questions. Maybe he's actually getting game film sent to him and giving some advice thereafter. But there's a reason why Johnny Mac brings it up. It's official. It's not just they've copied Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio was in camp this year. He was hands-on. and he is still consulting for the Eagles defense and Jonathan Gannon. All right, Johnny Mac coming back. You know what we got to do. There will be a bow put on this show.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
The faces you know, the team you trust. The Delaware Valley's leading news program, Action News.
Go for the beers, go for the cheers, go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene, go for the screens, go for the gallery, go for the win, go to Ocean.
Johnny Mac hustled back from Arizona to be here right at 8 o'clock. I thank him, but I need you guys to do us a favor too. Yours truly did not make any friends on Friday when I picked the Arizona Cardinals to win the game. Sorry, I was wrong. I was never so happy to be wrong, but that's our job, is to give you objective picks. And I thought I wasn't just going to pick the Eagles 17 straight times this year. Undefeated. Yeah, go ahead, pick to put the check mark next to the Eagles every single game this year for Jody Mack. No, I wasn't going to do that because I don't think they're going to go 17-0. So I thought this was a week that a couple of things could line up.
I seriously considered it. Ultimately, I did pick the Eagles, and I have picked the Eagles 5 times. It's amazing. I keep losing the spread, but I keep picking the Eagles.
As a matter of fact, I've gotten the spread right 4 straight times. Yeah. I was wrong week 1 against the Lions, which I thought they'd crush. That's the only time I've been wrong on the spread because, yeah, Cardinals plus 5.5. I was a winner in the wager that I made this week. But do me a favor. Those of you who hung late, thank you for doing so. Hit the like button. They keep telling me we need help with our algorithm. Johnny Mac, you got to like. He hustled his ass off to get back here and be here by 8 o'clock. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm picking the Eagles on Sunday. And I'm going to pick them by at least a touchdown, maybe 10, maybe 2 touchdowns. I'll debate that over the next 3 days and see how this whole quarterback thing goes with Dallas. But I'm locking in an Eagle victory this week against the Cowboys. They opened up as a 5.5-point favorite. I think they're going to win and cover this week. So that's what you need to like the show. Yeah. I'm giving you an Eagle win now on Tuesday before a Sunday night game. Write it down. Eagles are beating the Cowboys.
The injury report will come out Wednesday. Obviously, Nick's not going to give us anything until Wednesday. The only thing that could shift me towards Dallas is if Jordan Mailata's not playing, Jason Kelsey's not playing, Landon Dickerson's not playing, then maybe I would consider it. But that's not going to happen. Jason Kelsey's going to play. Landon's going to play.
Expectations and levels factored in. How would you grade Jack Driscoll filling in for Mailata the last 2 weeks?
I thought he played well. I thought he played really well against Arizona. I don't think he played as well against Jacksonville.
Yes, he did.
But he was a good run blocker. I worry about Pat. The only thing I worry about Jack Driscoll's pass protection. And this week it's a big deal because the Cowboys will move Micah Parsons around.
Yeah.
And
that's fair.
Obviously it's Lane Johnson versus Jack. They're going to put him on Jack Driscoll, and I do not like that matchup.
But I give Jack Driscoll, I give him at least a B+, if not an A- against Jacksonville. And I give him an A for his efforts this
I thought he
week.
played really well in Arizona. To be fair, I don't like most players against Micah Parsons, but it's even more of a I don't like Jordan Mailata against Micah Parsons.
Yeah, he's that good. You are correct.
But there's differences, and Jordan will hold up better than Jack.
All right, tomorrow we'll get our buddy Mike Gill from down the shore to jump aboard, working on a second guest. And McMullen's going to get a nap, but then he's going to get up and he's going to go back to work. And you're going to be here with me tomorrow, right, Johnny Mac?
Yeah, hopefully. Jet lag.
He is day to day.
I could be the first IR jet lag.
Jet lagged. Yeah. Not happening. He'll be right back here with me tomorrow. Birds 365 in 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.